So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Was Trained by Goku and Vegeta Become the Z Fighter. This is second part of the series, so let's start the series. Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki to the Nine-Tailed Fox, son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, reincarnation of the youngest child of the Sage of the Six Paths, and hero of the Fourth Shinobi War, was dying. After a long and difficult battle involving the blonde and his allies fighting numerous reanimated ninja, White Setsu clones, Obito Uchiha, Madara Uchiha, and finally the Demoness Kagaya, Naruto's body was finally succumbing to his injuries and exhaustion. It was only due to both his status, bloodline, and stubborn personality that he'd held on this long, as most people would have succumbed long ago. Unfortunately, everyone has a limit, and Naruto has both reached and surpassed his. With what little strength he had left, Naruto said farewell to all of his friends and companions, encouraging them to move on without him to bring about a better world, and by the end of it all there wasn't a dry eye to be seen. Confident that the world was in capable hands, Naruto passed with no regrets. But he did give the world one last gift. Utilizing his abilities as a sage, as well as the powers of Asura, Naruto's soul was able to live on after his body gave out. His disembodied soul then went around the planet, picking up any lingering negative energy that remained from the past few centuries of violence and bloodshed, taking them into himself to ensure that the world will be at peace at long last. Fulfilling his role as the child of prophecy, Naruto's soul then took the negative energy along with itself deep within the earth to make sure nothing else like the Shinobi World Wars ever happens again. And peace reigned throughout the world. Years passed, and the elemental nations prospered, no longer focusing on militant applications. The people were able to focus on other pursuits such as improving the technology in the world. Eventually the usage of both shinobi and chakra grew out of fashion in times of peace, and the hidden villages became bustling metropolises. The Bijou, feeling that their presence may at one point disturb the peace the humans had, decided to go off to parts unknown, and no one saw them for many years. People began to use technology more than chakra as it was easier and more available to use. Soon most forgot the old, violent ways, with people only speaking of ninjas as myths and legends, only a few holding on to some of the shinobi way. While chakra itself fell out of use, people did still utilize the physical aspects of it from time to time, usually those heavily involved in the martial arts. But it gained a new name, ki. Throughout all this, Naruto's soul remained nestled in the earth, absorbing any build-ups of negative energy to prevent it from harming humanity. Then, one day everything changed. A new guardian for the earth, called Kami, had decided to make 7 magical orbs called Dragon Balls that, when gathered, could grant a person one wish. He used powerful abilities to create the Dragon Balls, many of which were connected to the earth itself. Said powers were like a beacon to Naruto's wandering soul, like it was nature chakra, drawing it in like a magnet. As the Dragon Balls were created, the negative energy Naruto's soul was distributed amongst them, but the majority held on to the ninja's soul as it was sucked into one of the orbs. Years pass. People using the wish-granting abilities to make their fondest wish come true. Some wishes were for beneficial reasons, others evil, and others completely ridiculous. With each wish, the negative energy in them grew stronger, especially in the Dragon Ball containing Naruto, and the majority of the negative energy. Finally, one day the negative energy in Naruto's Dragon Ball overflowed and took shape, which is where our story truly takes place. Divergent Point, Raid Shinran. It has been several days since Son Goku had died and his son Gohan was kidnapped by Piccolo. It had been such a pleasant start to the week too. Goku was going to meet up with his old friends Bulma, Krillin, Oolong, and Master Roshi, and then he'd show them his 4-year-old son Gohan. Then a powerful and evil stranger appeared, claiming to be Goku's long-lost brother Raditz. It was then that the savior of the planet learned of his origins, on how he was from a race of alien space pirates known as the Scions, and that he was sent to Earth to conquer the planet for sale. Goku, being the noble-hearted individual that he was, rejected his people's evil ways and fought his brother. The fight was brutal and short, with Goku having to team up with his arch-rival Piccolo to defeat his brother and save his son. The victory had a cost, however, as Goku needed to sacrifice his own life so Piccolo could land the finishing blow. They then learned the startling news. Raditz's 2 partners, both much stronger than him, were on their way to Earth and would be there in 1 year's time. With the looming threat in mind, Piccolo kidnapped Gohan to train him, seeing that the child had a lot of untapped potential in the fight against Raditz. Goku himself had his body and soul taken to other world after he died by Kami in order for him to train under the martial arts master King Kai. Goku's friends who could fight were taken to the lookout to be trained by Kami and Mr. Popo. This left his other friends like Bulma and Master Roshi to gather the 7 Dragon Balls so that they could wish Goku back to life in a year's time when the Saiyans arrived. However, unknown to the Z fighters and their friends, having the wish-granting orbs in such close proximity to each other for an extended period of time with their current level of negative energy allowed it to escape and take form, bringing the soul of a certain blonde shinobi along with it. If one were to look into the back room of Rashi's Kame house, they would see that the 7 Dragon Balls were flashing. The 5-star ball was flashing brighter than the others, however, and the ball suddenly turned a blackish color before releasing a dark-colored smoke. Once all the smoke was released, the ball returned to its normal orange color, but the smoke remained as it hovered over the balls. The smoke began to condense and take shape. Soon, a strange creature was standing over the Dragon Balls while looking around in confusion. The being's body was largely a dark red color, with his front being more of a cream color. It had a large bird-like beak for a mouth as well as a fin-shaped horn on the top of his head with antennae on both sides of it. Its eyes are yellow in color and kind of beady, and it had short black claws on its hands and feet. The arms were long and slightly muscular, while the legs were barely visible as the creature's somewhat chubby body went all the way down to its feet, which were also bird-like in nature. There was also a thick reptilian tail poking out of its backside. The biggest, or should I say smallest, feature of the newly born Shadow Dragon is that it was tiny, barely 2 feet in height, including the horn. Naruto looked around the dark room in confusion. Okay, I'm pretty sure I was dead until now, so how am I here? Is this a dream or the afterlife? He then noticed a pile of adult magazines from Rashi's personal stash nearby and he sweat dropped. If this is the afterlife, it looks like Pervy Sage's version of it, but the most important question is... He then looked down at his tiny, chubby body and, after standing still for a few moments, fell onto his hands and knees with twin rivers of tears leaking from his eyes. Why the hell am I a fat-ass pipsqueak? He mentally shouted in despair. Shaking himself out of his brief bout of depression, he then took a closer look at his body and wished the lights weren't so dim. The physical changes shocked him, but not nearly as much as when he gave himself a sharp pinch, both to see if he was dreaming and to make sure the body he was looking at was actually his. His skin stretched and snapped back into place like rubber. Feeling his skin, Naruto noticed that instead of flesh and bone, his body was made of some kind of elastic, slime-like substance. Alright Naruto, think you're in a dark room in unknown territory. You've been changed into some kind of slimy bird, reptile, thing, and you have no idea what happened to you. Try to remember so you can figure out what's going on. He murmured to himself to give himself a pep talk, momentarily starting at how his voice had changed, and how it almost had an electric undertone to it. Sitting as best he could given his current body structure, Naruto closed his eyes and meditated like the Toad sages taught him to collect his thoughts. While he wasn't one for sitting still for too long, situations like this required it for a calm mind. It helped, as he was able to see flashes of what happened around the Dragon Balls over the years. Kami making them, those who wished upon them, Son Goku and his friends, Demon King Piccolo, and the recent trouble with the Saiyans. Naruto was initially freaked out about there being aliens, but he'd seen stranger during his time alive. He was amazed at how much the world had changed over the years, but saddened at the same time that by now all those he knew in life most likely passed on years ago. He put that to the back of his mind for now though, as he knew none of his friends and family would want to see him mourn over the past for too long. Instead, Naruto thought of the future, and what he should do from here. Getting out of his meditative stance, the now tiny dragon started passing around the Dragon Balls while trying to figure out what to do. I think the best thing for me to do is to help protect the planet when these Saiyamen or whatever arrive. If I'm remembering this right, Son Goku's friends are going to revive him in a year with the Dragon Balls and train to fight the aliens. So I should team up with them and take this time to train myself. Naruto mused before he lifted a hand to his face and a look of concern appeared. But, can I even fight like this? I'm not even sure if I can use chakra in this body. Plus everything feels different from what I'm used to. Experimenting, the former ninja brought his hands into a familiar cross-shaped symbol and cried out, Shadow Clone Jutsu. He waited, but there wasn't even so much as a puff of smoke around. Giving a frustrated sigh, Naruto looked around. Maybe if I can find a light switch or something I can see if I'm doing anything wrong. He thought out loud before he face-palmed and groaned out. And I really need to stop talking to myself. It took some searching, but Naruto was able to determine where the light switch was in the room. Unfortunately, he was too short to reach it, so he had to grab a small empty crate to stand on in order to reach it. It was lucky that it was late at night, and everyone was asleep. Otherwise someone might have heard light thumping and the occasional muttered curse coming from the storage closet in Kame House. Standing on his clawed tiptoes, Naruto was just able to reach the switch to turn the light on. However, this caused a small electrical spark to jump out of the switch and was drawn to Naruto's body. The slime-like substance he was made of soaked it up like a sponge, and Naruto gave a small gasp as he felt a tingling feeling go through his body. It wasn't unpleasant, more like when Kurama's uncorrupted chakra would flood his system, just in a much lower potency. Naruto could feel a power flowing through his body now. It wasn't chakra, but somehow it felt natural. Focusing the power to his hands while remembering some of his old chakra control techniques, Naruto saw small sparks of electricity leap off his hands like tiny fireworks. It reminded Naruto of Kakashi and Sasuke's Chidori, just much weaker. Did me getting shocked give me lightning powers or something? Naruto thought before he noticed an outlet on the opposite wall. Giving a slight gulp, Naruto walked, more like waddled. Man, he was going to need to find a way to get back into shape. Now he was sorry for all the fat jokes he came up with for Choji as he silently cursed karma. Over to the outlet, and, after a moment's hesitation, knowing that this was going to hurt a lot if he was wrong, plunged his finger into the outlet. The results were almost instantaneous. The tingling feeling returned with a much greater force that almost overwhelmed the former blonde. As the house's electricity started to flow into Naruto's body, the lights around the house briefly flashed on before turning off again as the increasing power surge occurred. In several weeks' time, Rashi's electrical bill will increase threefold and he'll be forced to hold off on his internet porn for over a month due to this. Meanwhile, back to Naruto. His body starts to feel truly re-energized, almost like he did before he died with the more energy he took in. The changed ninja was so wrapped up in the feeling that he didn't notice two things. The first was that his finger that was in the outlet now took on a more liquid-like appearance as it slipped into the holes of the outlet. The second was that after a few seconds of charging himself, his body started to get bigger. 1. His overall mass increased along with his height and general bulk, his dark red lightening to a lighter pink the bigger he got. Naruto noticed none of this even as he started to hunch over to keep in contact with the electrical source. Soon though, Naruto's crested head bumped into the ceiling, and he jerked himself up into a standing position in surprise, of course. Due to him being much taller, this caused Naruto to go literally head and shoulders through the ceiling of the closet like it was cheap toilet paper. Thanks to his gelatinous state, Naruto wasn't hurt by the crash, but he was shocked out of his wits when he saw both what he'd done and that he was much bigger than the room he was currently in. The Shadow Dragon's limited mental capabilities tried to wrap his head around what happened, but just then he heard creaking coming from outside the door to the closet his lower body was still standing in. Hunching down so he could see into the room, Naruto saw that the lights had been turned on in the next room and shadows leaking through the cracks in the door indicated someone was coming in. Oh crap! Naruto mentally panicked, wondering how in the hell he was going to explain who he was, why he was in Kame House, and why he suddenly broke the ceiling. His yellow eyes darted around, trying to find some place to hide, but soon realized it was pointless because A. He still didn't have chakra and as a result couldn't use his ninja skills to hide, and B. He was a 15-foot-tall, jello, bird, lizard thing. Just then, the door opened to reveal a short bipedal pig in pajamas. Oolong, if Naruto remembered correctly, was standing there while rubbing his eyes tiredly. The talking pork looked at Naruto's towering form with heavily lidded eyes before shrugging, turning around, and closing the door behind him. Naruto waited a few moments before letting out a large sigh of relief. Wiping some sweat from his antennaed forehead, it was a good thing Oolong was still largely asleep. Now hopefully it would give him time to think of a way to get out of here without further breaking the house before. There was the sound of rapidly approaching footsteps before the door swung open once again to show Oolong, eyes wide open and getting bigger as he took in Naruto's appearance, his face becoming the color of sour milk. Before Oolong realized he wasn't dreaming and came back, crap. The pig let out a yell that could probably wake up people all the way on the mainland, startling Naruto, causing him to take a step back. Unfortunately, Naruto's large feet stepped right on the Dragon Balls as he did so, and the magical orbs acted like marbles, causing him to lose his balance and fall backwards. Naruto's extra mass made it so his falling body was like a wrecking ball, and he crashed right through the wall behind him, making most of him lay outside the house. Well, at least I'm outside, Naruto thought sarcastically as he slowly got up, the sand falling off him in a small waterfall. By the time he was standing, the other occupants of the house had come outside and were now staring up at him with surprised and slightly fearful expressions. The first was Oolong, looking ready to pee himself. The other was an old, bald human man who wore dark green sunglasses, despite it being nighttime, shorts, a Hawaiian shirt, and strangely enough a giant turtle shell was strapped to his back. This man is Master Roshi. The final member was a floating blue cat whose name is Poir. They all stood there for several tense minutes before Naruto broke the silence. Sorry about the wall. And the ceiling. Totally my bad, he chuckled nervously while rubbing the back of his head. The other three face-faulted at this before quickly composing themselves. Rashi stepped forward and coughed into his hand. That's quite alright. I was planning on remodeling soon anyway. But I think the main question is though, and Naruto could swear he could see the suspicious glare sent his way behind the man's sunglasses, is who are you and what are you doing here? Naruto plopped down on his, quite generous, rear end and said, you all might want to take a seat, 'cause this is going to be a long story. Several hours later, the sun was starting to peek over the horizon as Naruto finished his tale. Poir was looking at him with a starry-eyed expression. Master Roshi seemed contemplative, as he calmly smoked a pipe, but Oolong had a look of pure skepticism. Ignoring the fact the former ninja could easily squash him like a bug, Oolong shot out, oh give me a break. You really expect us to believe that you were some kind of super-powered ninja who saved the world thousands of years ago? Not only that, but you've somehow been reborn from the Dragon Balls we had in the house. How gullible do you think? I believe him, Rashi said abruptly, cutting off Oolong's rant. The other three looked to the older man in surprise as he took another puff on his pipe before elaborating. When I was a small lad, just starting martial arts myself, I was told a tale of a time long ago when the world was in a constant state of war fought by soldiers cloaked in shadow. It ended with a child who had carried a demon help to bring peace at the cost of his own life. Few know of this story, and even fewer know the details. Naruto was it? Naruto nods, told, added to the fact he was somehow able to get inside our house despite his size in the middle of the night with none of us the wiser, and that he is able to tell us details about ourselves that only one who observed our actions closely could tell, lead me to believe everything he has told us is 100% true. Naruto couldn't help but grin and extended a fist towards him. Thanks, old man. Naruto sincerely stated. He had been worried for a while that none of them would believe him, and he'd have to think of some kind of way to convince them. Rashi huffed playfully at the old man comment but extended his own fist anyway to tap Naruto's larger one. No problem. However, the moment the two fists connected, electricity sparked and Rashi started jerking around wildly as he was shocked by hundreds if not thousands of volts of lightning. Naruto was so shocked, no pun intended, at what the simple fist bump did that he jerked his fist back, leaving behind a nice and crispy, but still alive, perverted martial arts master, his beard standing on end. Naruto jerked so hard that he once again fell backwards, landing right in the ocean. Boom! Scene break. Naruto laid down on a sofa in Kame House, shrunk down to his previous size and covered in both band-aids and burns. Note to self: do not go near water, he groaned as he tried to sit up with little success. The second Naruto's large and electricity-filled body touched the water, it reacted similar to that of dropping a plugged-in toaster in a bath. After being horribly shocked to the point it reminded him of being stabbed by Sasuke's Chidori, Naruto seemed to explode. When the smoke cleared, it showed him lying face up in the shallow water of the beach, blackened and coughing out a smoke ring at his original tiny size. Second note to self: do not fist bump a being made of electric slime. Rashi groaned in the chair beside him, equally burned and wrapped. Sorry about that, and I promise I'll help with the repairs, Naruto swore as he was finally able to get into a sitting position. He then gestured to the hole in the wall that was now covered in a large tarp courtesy of Poir. Don't worry about it, it'll take more than that to keep me down. Besides, I can ask Bulma for help with the repairs if she can come up with some sort of invention or something, Rashi said dismissively. It'd be great if she could invent some way for me not to get shocked when I touch water, kinda sucks. Though I guess it won't matter much until I learn how to control these new powers and body of mine, Naruto said with mirth, as he looked at his hands before clenching them into fists. His eyes then widened in terror. No. What if I could get shocked touching ramen broth too? I wouldn't be able to eat ramen anymore. He cried in horror while clutching his head. Rashi chuckled before wincing in pain. Cough. I'm sure we can think of something too, so, what are you going to do now? The world is quite different from the one you came from. Naruto calmed down and thought about Rashi's question for a moment. Well, I want to help protect this world again. While it's not the same as the one I was raised in, it is the one me and my friends fought for. If I can, I want to be able to fight those Scion guys when they arrive. Only problem is I don't have chakra anymore, and I'm just learning what all my body can do now. I'm afraid that if I fought, I'd make the situation worse as I am now. Rashi considered this before coming to a decision. If you want, I can help you out with training. While your powers seem slightly different from Ki, there's no reason I can't assist you in figuring out your powers. Who knows, I might even teach you a thing or two. I wasn't known as the world's strongest for nothing, you know, he offered. Naruto looked surprised at this before a grateful smile worked its way onto his beak-like mouth. You sure? I mean, you barely know me, and in the time you have known me I've partially wrecked your house and shocked you, he asked. I'm sure it's the older generation's duty to pass on their knowledge to the new generation, correct? Of course, in your case it would the new generation teaching an ancient generation a thing or two. He chuckled at his own joke before continuing. Besides, it has been a while since I've had a student and I find myself missing the experience. It'll be good teaching again. And I'm confident I'll have you ready to fight those aliens in 6 months rather than a year. But I must warn you, my training will not be easy. It could very well be the hardest thing you've ever done. Naruto grinned and proclaimed, Bring it on, old man. I'll take whatever you throw at me, believe it. Time skip. Several months later, both Rashi and Naruto stood across from each other in a clearing, Naruto now standing at 6 feet tall, his preferred height, and looked ready to battle while Rashi himself was in a ready stance. Sparks suddenly leapt from Naruto's skin before he disappeared in a blur. Rashi himself followed shortly after. During the time Naruto was being taught under the aged master, he had learned a bit about how his new lightning powers worked, and was able to shape them into attacks. In remembrance of both Sasuke and Kakashi, Naruto was able to make a replica of the Chidori and all its variants by using the lightning stored in his body. He was even able to replicate A's lightning armor in a way that his speed and strength drastically increased, which was good because without it he was slower than Lee when he got his leg broken and weaker than an academy student. Naruto was even able to create some new attacks from his research, like one he calls Dragon Thunder, where the energy is collected into a solid form and is then shot out in the form of an electrical dragon. Naruto was also able to figure out how to fight with his new body. As it turns out, his slimy form was very versatile in way of attack. For example, Naruto learned he could detach parts of his body that he can control with his thoughts. With a little ingenuity, Naruto was even able to use this ability to make clones of himself. Albeit they were mindless replicas, but still it was good to have a familiar technique. He also found his body was nearly impervious to damage when, during one of the spars with Master Rashi, the older man fired his signature Kamehameha wave at him. Naruto was unable to dodge out of the way in time due to him still getting used to moving on squat legs, but instead of being blasted by the ki attack, which was thankfully underpowered as it was just a practice spar, Naruto's body seemed to absorb the attack like a sponge, holding the energy inside of him. It took a little work on Naruto's part, but he was finally able to get the blast to exit his body, which missed hitting a nearby oolong by only a foot. After some practice, Naruto was able to figure out how to use this ability to reflect energy attacks back at his opponent almost instantly. He also learned how to shape his body a bit like clay, being able to form weapons and direct his mass into only certain limbs like the partial expansion jutsu. Finally, Naruto was able to learn a bit about ki. While his body was more inclined to his electrical powers, Naruto found that he had the capability of using ki to an extent. Rashi was able to teach him his Kamehameha wave with little difficulty, and Naruto even explored mixing his ki with lightning similar to what he did with the Rasengan. The results were an extremely powerful technique that Rashi had the Shadow Dragon promise to only use for emergencies. The perverted martial arts master also explained the theory behind using ki for flight. That while he didn't know himself, he knew the basic idea behind. Naruto was able to fly a bit after multiple falling accidents. But he wasn't fast nor graceful at it. 3. Back to the fight. Naruto and Rashi were clashing in the clearing at speeds so fast that one with untrained eyes would just see a slight disturbance in the area they were at. Rashi would use all manner of punch and kick combos, while Naruto would prefer using his arms as his legs were not made for kicking. After several moments of this, the two came at a standstill, with Naruto holding onto Rashi's kick with his left hand while his right fist was being blocked by both of Rashi's arms in a guard position. They held this pose, both trying to overpower the other, before Naruto smirked. The antenna on his forehead started to spark, causing Rashi to pale as Naruto called out, "Dragon Thunder!" Rashi was barely able to dodge in time, but in order to do so he had to lower his guard slightly, and in doing so allowed Naruto to take some of the electric slime in his chest to form a third fist that got the man right in the face. The two broke apart and skidded back several feet before coming to a rest. They looked at each other for a minute before Rashi relaxed his position, followed by Naruto, and the two bowed to each other. "That was very good, Naruto. You are quickly on your way to becoming one of the strongest fighters on the planet. I'd say another couple months and you'll be ready to fight the Scions when they arrive," Rashi commented as he wiped some of the blood from his mouth. Naruto smiled proudly before asking, "So what's next for the training, old man?" Rashi then looked at his latest student seriously and said, "It is getting to the point where I can't teach you much more myself. I would recommend you go find one of my other former students like Krillin or Yamcha and train with them. I'll take you to Bulma's place in the city where she can contact one of them, because from what I heard they all got back from their own training with Kami the other day. Once there, you might also want to talk to Bulma, because I talked to her, and she said she had some things that she believes will help you out." Naruto, while surprised and somewhat saddened to leave the man who had been willing to teach him for all this time, knew he had a point that he needed to up his training if he wanted to be strong enough to defend this world. So with that, the two got on Rashi's capsule airplane and took off towards Bulma's place. While traveling, Naruto couldn't help but smirk to himself. It looks like the number one unpredictable ninja was making a comeback. Naruto yawned as he arched his back, getting it to crack in several places. He mumbled to himself as he got out of his plush bed and made his way to the bathroom on the other side of the bedroom. Once inside, he took some water out of the sink and splashed it on his face, the cold liquid helping to eliminate any remaining drowsiness from his system. Blinking his eyes free of water, Naruto got a good look at himself in the mirror and couldn't help but grin. All these millennia later, and he still looked as he did when he was 16. That personally was one of the major perks of becoming a god. It also made him nostalgic on how he came to be where he was now. Several decades after defeating Kaguya and bringing peace to the elemental nations, Naruto had passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 109, expecting to find himself in the pure realm. The former 7th Hokage was surprised to find him face to face with Hagoromo Otsutsuki in the outer space-like place the two had first met. The sage had greeted him warmly, and informed the deceased ninja that thanks to his actions in life and for ridding the world of its cycle of hatred, Naruto had been given the opportunity to have god status after passing on. At first the whiskered man was hesitant, feeling that accepting this title would prevent him from seeing his friends and family in the afterlife. But the teacher of Nishu assured him that with his new title and abilities, Naruto would be free to not only explore all parts of the spirit world, but that of the living world as well. After hearing all the pros and cons his new position would entail, Naruto decided to accept, and as soon as he did, his old man's body regained the form it had when he was in his prime and had been that way ever since. Eons has passed since then, and Naruto did many things to keep himself busy and to live up to his new role as the god of heroes. One of his primary duties was to help train new heroes from every few generations if they proved worthy enough so they'd be able to face any threats to their world. And while he did operate throughout the universe, Naruto had most of his focus on his home planet, Earth, to ensure the peace he fought so hard for and that his teachers dreamed of would persist. Naruto trained many students who lived up to the title of hero over the years, some who had made legends in their own regard. The blonde god watched as the world he grew up on continued to evolve and change. A few centuries after his ascension, the world eventually grew out of and forgot the old shinobi system. While Naruto was saddened by this, He did consent that the system had become obsolete with the peaceful environment and rise in technology. However, even though the world forgot about chakra and its hidden villages, people learned alternative fighting techniques. These new techniques required the use of just yang chakra, or ki as it was now called. Ki, while lacking the versatility of pure chakra, was easier to access without the usage of chakra points, which had grown dull after generations of inactivity, and had strong offensive power. Naruto himself learned how to use ki a while back, but preferred the usage of chakra, believing it to have more potential than ki and being the easier of the two for him to use. Slowly, over time, the number of people who used ki also began to diminish thanks to a lack of need, and the number of heroes from Earth Naruto trained diminished to a crawl. And while he still kept an eye on things, the past couple of centuries have been pretty lax. The blonde had taken to napping on occasion to help pass the time when he wasn't training or helping others train. He didn't nap for centuries like that lazy bastard Beerus. Only a decade or two was usually enough to satisfy him. Even after all these years, Naruto still hated being inactive. It was from one of these naps that Naruto had just awoken from, and he was eager to see how the world had changed in the last decade. Quickly changing out of his pajamas, that he kept the same style from when he was a boy, Naruto put on his orange and black kimono that had the Uzumaki spiral in the back, his sandals, and finally his leaf headband that he tied to keep his wild blonde hair back. It had grown longer again, almost to his father's length thanks to a decade of not getting cut. It was a bit more formal than he would usually prefer, but the ninja-turned-god knew he had a certain image that he needed to at least try and uphold. Even though he was still not one for ceremonious garb. Morning preparations done, Naruto disappeared from the bathroom and reappeared in the dining room in a flash of light. I see you've awoken, Lord Naruto, right on schedule as usual," a calm voice said. Standing next to the table was a blue-skinned humanoid man that had wavy white hair, was garbed in formal attire, and was carrying an ornamental staff that had a glowing green orb floating on its head. Naruto chuckled before saying in an exasperated tone, "You know how I feel about that lord stuff, Ki-1. Honestly, if I didn't know better I'd say you did it just to annoy me." The now-named Ki just smiled and said in a voice filled with humor, "Oh, forgive me, my lord, I will correct my grammar at once. I live to serve, after all." The two looked at each other for a minute before breaking out into laughter. After calming down, Naruto whipped a straight tear from his eye and said, "Ah man, I never get tired of that bit. Honestly though, it's great to see you, Ki. I hope things weren't too boring while I was sleeping? It must suck not being able to sleep yourself." Ki waved his hand in a dismissive manner. "Think nothing of it, Naruto. After millennia one does find ways to entertain oneself even without the need for sleep. Now, I take it you'll have the usual for breakfast?" Naruto's smile turned into an eager smirk as he sat down at the dining table and picked up a pair of chopsticks there. "Lay it on me," he stated to his instructor/attendant/friend. He tapped his staff on the ground and the long table was covered in numerous bowls, each filled to the brim with ramen. "I've taken the liberty of introducing ramen to over 500 different star systems, Naruto, and as a result there are now over 278 new flavors for you to try," he informed the blonde, who already had a third of the bowls emptied and stacked as he hungrily tore into another one. "So much has there been any slurp new developments while I was asleep?" Naruto asked as he continued to shovel noodles into his mouth. Ki hummed while looking into the orb on his staff. "Well, about 5 years ago the inhabitants of Yardat have successfully been able to replicate your teleportation technique using Ki, though they need to locate another Ki signature to latch onto. So it'll be kind of like a Hiraishin technique, only using Ki signatures instead of seals. Interesting," Naruto mused as he worked on his last 5 bowls. "Good for them though. The Yardrats are good people and it's always nice to help out." Ki continued, "Let's see now. Oh, there have been several planets laid claim to by the Planet Trade Organization." Naruto frowned at that. The PTO had been getting on his nerves for quite some time now, with that cold family leading them and purging planets of its inhabitants for sale to the highest bidder. "I swear, if someone doesn't step up to those ice lizards and their goons soon, I might have to get involved myself." He scowled as he placed the last bowl in the pile of dirty dishes. He teleported the dishes away to be cleaned with a wave of his staff. "Perhaps so, but you'll need to wait a bit longer before you're allowed to interfere. Hopefully a hero will come soon that can do something before then." Naruto grumbled at this. It was one of the restrictions he hated about his new position. While he could train prospecting heroes to battle threats, He was unable to get involved himself unless the threat was too big for anyone else in the universe to handle. And given that most of the people who try to go against Frieza end up dead before Naruto can reach them, it might soon come to that. He had high hopes for that Bardock guy from planet Vegeta. But even he died after one blow. Naruto appreciated that kind of moxie though, and had trained the Scion for a few years before allowing his soul to pass on into the afterlife. At least if Bardock was ever revived, he'd be able to give hell to any foe he'd face. Wanting to get his mind off things, Naruto gestured for Ki to go on. And this just happened recently. But someone was able to get to King Kai's planet after traveling Snake Way. Naruto leaned back and had an impressed look on his face. No shit? Huh, feels like forever since someone's actually been able to make it to King's planet. So who's the lucky one to get to suffer through his horrible jokes? Ki seemed to focus for a moment and reported. Apparently it's the Earth-born Scion's son Goku, Naruto. He died in a fight against his older brother when said brother tried to force him to massacre the Earth's population by kidnapping his son. The Guardian of Earth spoke with King Yema and convinced him to allow Goku to train with King Kai, as 2 more Scions are to arrive in 6 months' time in order to destroy the Earth. Naruto frowned as he processed this information. Goku, huh? I think that's the name of Bardock's kid when he landed on Earth. Wasn't he also the one who defeated that Red Bow army right before I took my nap? Red Ribbon Army, sir, and correct on both accounts. In addition, he was able to defeat Demon King Piccolo and his reincarnation a few years afterwards. Quite an impressive feat considering how low the number of threats on Earth are, Ki mentioned. Naruto hummed over this for a minute before standing up and saying, Come on Ki, we're heading out to King Kai's planet. I think I just found my next student. King Kai's planet. Several minutes later, Son Goku panted as he tried to catch King Kai's pet monkey Bubbles. Normally, this task would be a piece of cake for the Earth-raised Scion, but due to the small planet having a gravity 10 times that of Earth, he was finding himself unable to get even close to the monkey. He wouldn't give up though. His family and friends were counting on him, and if catching Bubbles was the first step in doing so, then by golly he was gonna catch him. Goku was just about to resume his chase when he noticed King Kai let out a gasp near his house. The blue-skinned man was staring away from him into the space surrounding his planet with a look of surprise and awe on his face. King Kai? What is it? Goku asked, deciding to take a small break from his training. The man turned his sunglass-covered eyes on the fighter and said in a serious tone, Goku, make yourself presentable, the God of Heroes is approaching. Goku cocked his head in confusion. God of Heroes? Who's that? That'd be me, a voice said from behind him. Turning around, Goku saw Naruto and Ki standing not too far away from where they were. Naruto turned up his eyes in a smile and raised a hand in greeting. Yo, he called. Goku stared at the young-looking man and his blue-skinned companion in wonder. I didn't even feel them approach. Not only that, but I can't even feel their energy coming from them. Wait. I do feel something from them, but I can't get a good read on it. It's like staring into space itself. You can see the stars and planets in the distance, but you can't even begin to grasp the immensity of it. Just who are these guys? Naruto turned his attention to King Kai and said casually, Sup King, you're looking the same as ever, but I love what you've done to the place. I even see you have a road on the planet now, on all 10 feet of it. Must be great on the gas mileage here, he joked at the end. King Kai bowed his head and fumbled over his words. Lord Naruto, sir. It's an honor to have you on my tea. Can I get you some home? Realizing his mistake, the Kai corrected, it's an honor to have you at my home. Can I get you some tea? Relax, King. I'm not gonna blow you up or something. That's Beerus' job, Naruto said with a laugh. Turning to Son Goku, Naruto smiled and said, and while I appreciate the offer, I'm actually here to meet your new student. Goku's eyes went wide and he pointed to himself. Me? He asked. Naruto rolled his eyes. No, the monkey, yes you. Regaining his composure somewhat, King Kai questioned, What do you need to meet with Goku about, Lord Naruto? The whiskered deity rolled his eyes again and said, First off, enough with the Lord stuff, okay? Secondly, I heard about him being the first person to reach your planet in years and I got curious on the guy who was able to make it, that. And I actually have kept a close eye on our awesomely dressed friend here for some years now and figured it was high time we finally meet. Naruto finished by gesturing to the man's outfit. After all, someone who wore that much orange was okay in his books. Goku raised his hand like a school child and got everyone else's attention. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but who are you? Also, what do you mean you've been keeping an eye on me? Naruto plopped down on the grass while Ki remained standing and gestured for Goku to do the same, which the orange-clad scion complied. Well, those answers actually kind of go hand in hand. As king of the terrible puns mentioned, I'm the god of heroes for this universe, name's Naruto, by the way. Anywho, what that means is that I keep my eye out across the universe and see if there are any beings who have the potential to become true heroes. And if they are able to meet the necessary standards, I keep tabs on them for if they ever need my help. If that time comes, I will either step in myself to fight with them or help train the heroes to be able to combat the threat themselves. The former is a very rare occurrence, and will only be done if there is absolutely no alternative. The latter is more common and actually is why I'm here now. He finished with a mischievous grin and pointed a finger at Goku. So, how's about it? Want to become a student of mine? The other two occupants of the tiny planet were, understandably, shocked. What? They asked near simultaneously. Goku followed with a why? Naruto explained, well, why see, you've caught my attention ever since you defeated that red bow. Ribbon, Ki corrected, Ribbon Army, and have only continued to impress me over the years with your fighting against King Piccolo and his progeny. Your latest fight against your brother where you sacrificed yourself to save your son and the earth only solidified my opinion on your hero status. And with those two scions coming in a few months, I thought, this be the perfect time to take on a new student, so how about it? Goku seemed hesitant. I dunno. I mean, I was supposed to train under King Kai, and the way everyone talked about him made it seem like he's my best shot at training for the scions. King Kai leaned in and whispered into the man's ear, Goku, I feel you should take this opportunity. While you would definitely improve under my teachings, Lord Naruto is many times my better, and has more strength than you can possibly imagine. He'd be able to crush pretty much anyone in the galaxy with the twitch of his pinky finger. He's that powerful? Wow, I'm actually nervous if I'd have to fight him. Goku whispered back, well, if you train with me, Goku, you'd get a chance to see how it'd be to fight me in training. Naruto interrupted, scaring the crap out of the two who didn't know about his sharp hearing. He then turned to King Kai, and that's an interesting way you view me, KK. If not inaccurate, you got me confused with Beerus, because the whole crushing thing with the finger is more his shtick. Great way to talk me up though, so kudos. Forgive me, Lord Naruto, I spoke out of turn, King Kai stammered. Naruto waved it off. Seriously, it's fine, though I'd appreciate it if you'd drop the whole Lord crap. I'm not that egotistical. Ki spoke up. Didn't you once try having your birthday marked as Intergalactic Ramen Day? Naruto quickly shushed his partner in a frantic manner, not wanting that particular incident to be made public knowledge. He was still catching crap from the other deities for that. Coughing into his fist, Naruto turned back to Goku and King Kai, back on topic. So anyway, Goku, you don't need to worry about the whole training thing. I'm sure in the 6 months until the scions arrive on Earth, both me and King Pun's a lot over there will be able to teach you everything we know. And while I may be stronger than him, King Kai has knowledge on techniques that even I can't do, especially when it comes to Ki. Goku cocked his head. While this definitely sounds like something I'd want to do, am I even going to have time to train with both you and King Kai? After all, the scions are supposed to be arriving in about 6 months and I'm going to need every second to focus on getting stronger. Wouldn't training under 2 teachers make that a lot harder? Naruto gave a reassuring smile as he motioned to Ki. Don't worry about that. My friend here has a unique ability to slow time to a crawl for a decent amount of time. So we'd be able to turn a week's worth of training into several months, Naruto informed him, while Ki nodded his head in agreement. Eyes widening in realization, Goku said, Hey, that sounds like the hyperbolic time chamber at Kami's Lookout. Ah yes, I remember that place. I, along with several other powerful beings, decided long ago to combine our unique talents in creating a dimension existing for the sole purpose of pushing others past their limits. I'm glad to see it's still functional, too. Ki happily informed the Earthborn Scion. After absorbing this information, Goku grinned excitedly. Alright then. If that's the case, then I have nothing to lose, so when should we do this? Naruto spoke up. Well, if it's okay with both you and King Kai, I'll stick around to observe your training for a few months, and when you both feel satisfied with your training, I'll take you back to my place for my own personal training. We should have you more than strong enough to fight the meathead in the talking Napoleon complex in no time. Huh? Goku questioned at that last part. You'll understand when you see the seance. Anyway, I think you were doing some training when we arrived, so don't let us hold you up, K. Naruto stated as he went to sit out of the way of Goku's training grounds, a chair made of soft earth rising out of the ground to accommodate him while Ki settled for floating up into the air for a bird's eye view. Goku felt excited as he restarted his training in earnest. While he couldn't get a real good feel for Naruto's true power, if King Kai, one of the best-known martial arts masters in the galaxy, had such high amounts of respect for him, then he must be good. Plus, the young-looking god's general relaxed behavior spoke of someone with years of experience with power to match. Not only that, but the whiskered god was walking around on a planet with 10 times Earth's gravity, as easily as breathing. Goku felt that if he was trained by Naruto, there was a very strong chance on him actually winning against the Scions. While King Kai had admitted that the Scions were stronger than him, the Blue Kai treated Naruto like he was on a whole different playing field than the Scions. If he was to train under Naruto, though, he'd need to complete King Kai's training first. With that added motivation in mind, Goku chased after Bubbled with renewed vigor. 5 months, 2 weeks later, 1 week until Scions arrive, Goku's vision swam for a minute as he regained his bearings from Naruto's teleportation technique. Once the vertigo stopped, he took in his surroundings. The blonde former shinobi had transported himself, Ki, and Goku to what looked like a lush forest that had a beautiful clearing in its center. In the clearing he was 3 training posts, as well as what looked to be a large memorial stone in the background, 3, and judging from the strain on his body, the gravity here was around the same as it was on King Kai's planet. The Earth-raised Scion then had his attention brought back to his new teacher, as he started talking to him. So this place is the training field where most of your lessons will take place, since you've gotten used to training under intense gravity. One of the things I'm going to do here is increase the gravity every time you get used to the new one, like so, and with that, Naruto placed his palm on the ground where what looked like intricate writing spread from his hand. The writing disappeared into the earth, when suddenly the gravity surrounding them doubled in strength, causing Goku to grunt from the effort while Naruto and Ki didn't even look like they noticed. The next thing I'm planning on teaching you is some different battle strategies and techniques I've learned over the years. And since I've actually trained a couple Scions in my time, I have some ideas on how to teach you. Before all that though, I guess I should show you the rest of the area, nay? Turning to his friend, Naruto asked, "Hey Ki, do you mind starting your timed slow down thingy?" While scoffing at his technique being referred to as a thingy, Ki nevertheless complied as he tapped his staff on the ground, causing a large blue dome to cover the surrounding area and stretch on for miles. "There, now I can hold this up for roughly a year, which is about a week in real time," Ki informed them. Naruto shot the man a thumbs up before leading Goku down a path into the forest. When they reached the end, a large building stood in another clearing. It was oriental in style with a large kanji for fire written on the front. Entering what he was told was Naruto's home, Goku could only stare as the building looked even bigger on the inside, if you could believe that. Naruto wrapped an arm around the Scion's shoulder as he gave Goku the grand tour. It was a fairly luxurious, if somewhat Spartan home that had all the basic necessities but wasn't overly decorated. Near the end of the tour, Goku noticed a hallway with 9 huge doors on either side, each one numbered 1 to 9 for. Naruto noticed Goku looking and grinned. "I see you've seen my roommate's rooms." Curious as to who would be a god's roommate, Goku asked him, to which the blonde laughed. "Well, they're 9 beings I met back when I was way younger, and after I ascended to godhood I decided to take them with me. They're all super strong in their own right, but they don't really like being disturbed all that much, though I do plan on introducing you to them at some point. Who knows, maybe they'd even offer to train you a bit yourself. I have a feeling number 4 would be especially interested in you," he finished with an impish grin. Feeling both excited, nervous, and curious, Goku followed his new teacher further into the building, wondering just how much stronger training under the God of Heroes would make him. Little did he know that there would be far-reaching consequences of this training trip, but whether for good or ill has yet to be decided.